Every business usually puts together a marketing plan, and in that marketing plan they plan on selling their products in specific markets. Some of those could be in 45 countries. With this protectionist type of an approach, if these duties and fees and additional inhibitors, anti-dumping, countervailing duty, actually get imposed on a more of a global basis, businesses will lose access to markets, which means access to customers, end users, sales in these specific countries, making their products now either not competitive or downright at a loss for the overall business. So what businesses need to be doing is understanding where those vulnerabilities are and planning for them and making sure that they've got alternatives in place. Planning for uncertainty in the marketplace, it's very, very difficult because it's like, where do you begin? And the first thing you should do with that is really understand where your most highest levels of vulnerability are, your single points of failure. What are you really dependent upon? And if it is a trade lane, in this case between China and the United States, understand what are your other sources of supply. Are you single source there? Can you multi-source? Can you dual source that overall product? If you do, what is the impact to your true net landed cost on that? So if you can't buy from China anymore and have to bring something in from Germany, what are the duties, taxes, and fees? What does it ultimately cost you to get that product into the manufacturing cycle that the product you were previously buying from China was at originally? Livingston has a lot to offer large multinationals, just given how integrated and complicated their overall supply chains are. But even medium-sized businesses need to be considering this as well. If there is a full-on trade war or a disruption from an overall supply chain perspective related to retaliatory tariffs by way of example, they need to be planning for that in advance, and they need to be thinking about this as a competitive advantage. From the standpoint of those that are planning ahead and already have alternatives in place are going to be much better positioned than those that are reactive to what's going on in the marketplace, because they're going to find their new sources of supply aren't going to be unique to them. Their competitors are going to be looking at it as well. So when businesses are thinking about disruption in their overall supply chain, what are the areas that they should be looking at? We really focus on 5 key areas. So it happens to be the cost side of this. So what is it actually costing them today? What is it going to cost them in the new environment? That's looking at duties, taxes, fees. What is their true net landed cost? Okay. The second piece is quality. From a quality perspective, they need to understand how well their supply chain is actually going to execute, especially the new supply chain that they're going to. Do they have the right lift? Do they have the right capacity? Do they have the right insurance associated with it? The next is cycle time. From a cycle time perspective, they need to make sure that all of their supply chain partners are in tune with the changes that are happening, but also what are the operating procedures that they are to follow on behalf of this business to ensure that there's no interruptions, that their product doesn't stop from at least time of export through time of import to delivery to the back door. The next piece is customer satisfaction. And from a satisfaction perspective, that's making sure that they're getting, number one, paid for it, but it's access to markets, but it's also when they're signing contracts with their customers to make sure that they understand that the client, if they're needing a product within 4 to 5 days, that your supply chain can actually execute and deliver that product in the time frame needed. And then the final thing is compliance. Everything comes back to compliance. Businesses as well as customs agencies around the world really look for a standard of care. Businesses need to be able to prove that they have that standard of care, because importing and exporting is a privilege, it's not a right. So they need to make sure that classification, country of origin, valuation, things of that like are maintained, monitored, controlled, and audited within businesses today.